Hello, everyone. Today, in our quarantine talk, we have a great singer, vocalist, originally from Hong Kong, Vivian Yau, whom I met when she was here in New York for 4 years, from 2014 to 2018, because she did her undergraduate study at Juilliard School of Music in singing. And but before that, she came actually from England because she did her studies also a little bit in piano and singing at the Wells Cathedral School. And as a scholar, also she came here to New York, did her undergraduate studies. She also premiered one of my work, where I remember at this New York Dance Innovation Chopin&Friends Festival in 2016. Wonderful. She was a solid in my piece Missa Puncta. And after that, after graduating, she went to San Francisco to study at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music for 2 years. So she actually graduated recently in 2020, and she moved to Hong Kong. And I'm sure she has a lot of to share with us also about the situation in Hong Kong, which is very different in the States, and also about her moving, which was kind of a difficult time. It was in March last year, so actually when everything started with the pandemic. And she's today with us. She's originally currently back to Hong Kong. So hello, Vivian. Nice to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
So how have you been? How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I've been good. I've been doing a bit of teaching and I'm rehearsing for an opera right now and it's going to open in April, hopefully, if
Uh,
nothing if
mm,
nothing bad happens.
but great. Are you going to have a performance live?
We're planning to do two shows live. It's going to be part of the Hong Kong Arts Festival, and we're going to be premiering a new opera called Alice in Wonderland. It's by contemporary Italian composer Pierangeli Valtinoni. So it's very exciting, and there are a lot of children involved. So hopefully everything works out and our show doesn't get canceled. Hopefully.
So congratulations for that. That's very
Thank
good
you.
news. Alice in Wonderland is a very famous topic. A lot of also modern composers. I'm sure you've heard about Alice in Wonderland by Unsuk Chin, for example, Korean composer. Regarding this answer, that's very interesting because it looks that the operas companies are working in Hong Kong, which is very different here, like in New York. So,
Yeah.
tell me, for the last year, have you been involved in opera companies in Hong Kong?
No, so this is gonna be my first opera
Are your
performance in Hong
first
Kong.
one, first one?
Yeah, I mean I'm from here, but I've not actually done a real opera here. I performed in a lot of concerts and recitals here, but it's my first time doing an actual opera here. So that's really exciting. And in the past year, I think performances have just been happening like on and off. Like it really depends on what the current situation is like. So, for example, we just got over our fourth wave, I think. So the cases are like really down right now in the single digits. So hopefully it stays down until April and we can, perform as planned. But yeah, in the past year, some shows have been getting canceled. Like
And
it
postponed.
has
Yeah.
been, like, yeah,
Hmm.
everywhere else in the world. So yeah, it really just depends on
Hmm.
the situation.
But Vivian, have you had like some online performances? With opera is very difficult, but maybe some singing concerts, right? I also remember you did a lot of also of the oratories, right? I remember you were singing at the Carnegie Hall a few years ago at this Bach mess,
Right.
yeah, Bach
Yeah,
oratory.
yeah. Yeah, so in the past year, yeah, I've been doing some digital concerts. Most of them are pre-recorded. I don't think I've been doing a lot of live concerts. Um, but yeah, I've been working on new works with composers, doing short videos of new operas, some really cool stuff. So yeah, I'm really glad that I've been staying busy, still singing
Hmm.
kind of online.
That's very good to hear. But tell me also about this because about your experience because you studied in UK, England, and you
hmm
studied in USA, and now you came back to your country. How do you feel after this? How many years of studies? 10 years? Oh, no,
Um, 8 years.
eight
Eight
years. Eight
years.
years.
Yeah.
How do you
So
feel?
yeah, it's definitely like it definitely took me some time to adjust being back, back living with my parents, and yeah, it's very different and like it, I celebrated Chinese New Year here for the first time in 8 years
Oh
last
yeah.
week.
Yeah.
So
Happy New
that
Year.
was really
Happy New Year.
special. Thank you, Happy New Year. So that's really special, and I get to see my friends here a lot more now, and it's also been interesting to see how we try to make music like in this pandemic. It's very different. I'm teaching, but we all still have our masks on. It's been, I've been trying to get used to singing with my mask on in rehearsals.
In
So that,
masks? Oh wow, you're
yeah,
singing with
I
masks.
mean, we have to. It's the only way we can rehearse safely right now. And, you just can't be like spitting in each other's faces in rehearsal.
Hmm.
I guess we're going to be doing that in performance. But yeah, we've been rehearsing in masks. We've been having lessons in masks. And yeah, it's an adjustment, but I'm just glad that we can still, do this
Hmm.
somehow.
But Vivian, tell me exactly what did you graduate in March, or when did you exactly graduate from San
Um,
Francisco
okay,
Conservatory?
so in March,
Mid March. So you were lucky actually, just at the moment.
right, so I was still in San Francisco in mid March, and I actually did my graduation recital on March 15th.
Hmm. Was it
And
in person or online?
it was in person, and it was hours before the San Francisco lockdown.
Oh wow.
So, so nobody was allowed to come to my recital, but it was
Hmm.
live streamed. But yeah, I was singing my recital to an empty hall, which was really sad. And
Oh.
I was just in like a really like weird mind state, like everything was like coming down so quickly. And like midnight of that night, I was giving my rehearsal. I knew that like in a few hours the city would be like in complete lockdown, so it was just a really weird feeling.
Oh wow.
um but yeah, I'm so lucky that I managed to do my recital, because even recitals like the following day were canceled. So if I had picked my recital date on March 16th, I wouldn't
Oh wow.
have been able to sing my recital. So I'm really happy I got to do
Just
that.
one day difference. Just one
Yeah,
day.
just one day. So, yeah, so I did my recital on the 15th, and I think originally I was planning to stay in San Francisco
Hmm.
because, I had everything there. My cat was there. So I just wanted to stay there and like wait it out. And then I think it was probably like maybe 10 days into the quarantine, I realized that like things are not gonna like get back to normal like anytime soon. So I
So,
came home.
so
Yeah.
when did you decide to come home, and did you need to have a special maybe quarantine in Hong Kong?
Yeah, so I came back end of March, March 20 something,
Okay,
and I had to do a 14-day quarantine.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
I see.
And I think they changed the quarantine period to 3 weeks now. So, yeah, originally I was gonna do some auditions in Europe a couple months ago, but I decided not to in the end because
Traveling is
it
not
just
easy. Not easy nowadays.
traveling is not easy, and it didn't feel worth it to go all the way over there, sing for an audition, and come back and quarantine for 21 days. That just seems like a really long period of time to quarantine. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I see. I
It
see.
is what it
Something
is.
about the connection maybe with the Chopin song. Have you ever sung the Chopin songs? Like, for example, he composed a few for this high voice with
I
piano.
don't think I have. I love his music. I love his piano music, but I actually have not sung any of his songs.
Of
But
his
I
song.
yeah, I definitely want to look into that.
I see. Because I was thinking maybe you perform at the Kościuszko Foundation some of the songs, but not
No, I think I sang something French there.
French. Okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. But I remember when we had a conversation when we also prepared this mess. You said that you especially like interested in the operas, right? Opera is like your word. But you tell me, do you have your favorite maybe role that you have ever performed, and maybe something that you have dreams which would you like to perform in the future as an opera singer? Do you have something
Ah,
like this?
okay. Yeah, I did this opera at San Francisco. It was called Les Mamelles de Tiresias.
Hmm.
It's an opera by Poulenc. It's really cool. It's a short-ish opera. It's like an hour long, and I was singing the title role, Tiresias, and it's a really cool. It's a really funny opera. So Tiresias, she's this woman. This is, I think, I think this opera was written in 1915, so post-war. And she's like, I'm so sick of being a woman. I want to become a man. So she turned her boobs into balloons and she like let them go, like she let them fly,
It
and
is
then
a
she like grew a
comedy.
beard.
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy. It's a comedy. It's Poulenc. Um, and she grew a beard and she was like, I'm gonna do man things now. I'm gonna be a soldier. I'm gonna be a politician. I'm gonna do all these things that men do. And it was a really fun role to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely loved that opera, and the music was also just amazing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
But your
and I
dreams.
guess
Now the second question
my
about your
dreams, yeah,
dreams.
for the future. Well, one of my favorite operas ever is Rigoletto by
Rigoletto.
Verdi.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that opera, and Gilda is a role that I could sing,
Hmm.
sometime
Gilda.
in the future.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love her music. I love all the music in the opera, and
But do you like
yeah,
very
it's just
much?
a
Do you
beautiful
like
opera.
Italian opera a lot? Do you like
I
Italian?
do, yeah, but I also love other operas. Like I
Hmm.
don't just
Hmm.
love, Italian Verdi operas.
Have you ever
Yeah.
had chance to go to Milano, maybe to see the grave of Verdi in Italy? Have you
No,
been there?
I've been to Italy, but not Milan. I've
Not
been to
Milan.
Florence and Sicily.
Because there's this, I know there's a Casa di Verdi, yes, in Milano, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's where his grave
yeah.
is,
Have you
right?
been?
Yes, I've been there. Yes, actually,
Nice.
just a year before the pandemic, so there are always so many
Oh,
flowers,
yeah,
tourists coming to pay tribute to Verdi in his
yeah.
house. Yeah. Now you are based in Hong Kong. You came back to your home. Are you planning to come back to the States, or maybe you want to come back to Europe? Uh,
Yeah, so well, it looks like I'm going to be here for a while,
for a
just
while.
because
Yeah.
of,
Hmm.
everything that's going on. But I definitely want to work in Europe at some point.
Hmm.
There are a lot of operatic opportunities there. Yeah, and I think I mentioned earlier I was going to do some
I
auditions
met,
this
yes,
year.
the editions, yes.
Yeah, yeah, I actually got invited to do a couple of auditions over there, but I couldn't make it happen.
Hmm.
So hopefully I can do that next year, or sometime
Opera
soon.
theater in Hong Kong. So, how's the music scene
Right,
there?
so we don't have an actual opera house over
Hmm.
here. There are a few opera companies, and they put on a couple of productions every year.
Hmm.
But I think the main problem here is just that we don't have enough people who want to come to see operas,
Oh, really? Oh, that's a
Yeah, I mean there
surprising
there
thing.
definitely are people who love to see operas, but we don't have enough of an audience to,
Hmm.
put on so many shows a year. Compared to Europe where they can just do shows like all the time throughout the year. Um, so yeah, that's one thing I really like about Europe is, the opera culture there. Um, yeah, so
But also, in New York, there were a lot of companies.
But I think the main difference between the US and Europe, especially Germany, is that I don't know if you know about this, but
No, I don't know.
it's
We would
about
like
their
to know that if you can say a few words about that, okay?
right. So the system they have in Germany, so for opera singers, they have something called a Fest system. So you would be hired by an opera house for usually 2 years. So you would get a 2-year contract and you would just stay in that house and sing whatever productions they put on there. So you get like a steady monthly income as opposed to like a freelance situation where you get hired for each gig and you're just in one place for a month or two for a specific production. So, yeah, this long term arrangement that they have for singers in Europe is something that's attractive to me and other young singers. It's good to have a steady income when you're just starting out.
But tell me also, did you miss New York in San Francisco? Or maybe if you miss, what did you miss from New York?
Um, what did I miss New York? I missed people I met in New York, but to be honest, I loved San Francisco and
San Francisco.
like I like San Francisco more than New York, like
Hmm.
as a city.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Somehow it's surprising to people, but I don't know. I just enjoy like the more laid back vibe at San Francisco, and The winters in New York, like I do not miss those winters. It was so cold.
It was.
Yeah, so I do not miss that. The weather in San Francisco, although it wasn't like what I imagined, California weather, because it was in LA. Um, it sometimes it got really windy and cloudy and foggy, but it still wasn't as harsh as
Yes, the
New York
weather so
winters.
it's very different. But now we are in Hong Kong. So do you miss San Francisco or do you miss New York?
Oh, I miss winters now, just in
Oh,
general. Winters.
winter.
Like, I feel like we didn't get a winter. I feel like we got a winter for like a week here this year in Hong
Hmm.
Kong. And I just miss that cold feeling. I miss putting on sweaters and like a scarf. I didn't get to wear a scarf this year at all. So,
I see.
um, yeah, but it's nice being home for a bit.
When did you start actually singing, and when did you take your first maybe classes in singing, and you decided to be a singer? Do you remember at this time?
Yeah, yeah. So, I was in choir when I was in primary school. So, I think I was singing in choir when I was like 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day when I was about 10, my choir teacher at school, she was like, "Oh, you have a really nice voice. You should, start taking lessons, and you should do these competitions they have every year in Hong Kong." And so my mom just got me like a voice teacher, and I started taking lessons. And I don't know, it just turns out that I was good at it, I guess. It came really naturally to me. And it's just something that I kept doing, up till when I was a teenager. I was winning more competitions, and I guess I realized that I really liked doing it, so I just kept doing it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't there was no like
Other
big
way.
dramatic moment where
Yes.
it just felt really natural
Mhm.
for me to
So,
do this.
it was always singing, right? But also, did you play other instrument? You mentioned the piano, right? So did you play also piano in
Yeah,
your
so I
childhood?
played piano from when I was really young. Maybe when I was like 5 or 6, I started playing the piano,
Mhm.
and then I also took violin lessons for a bit.
Okay,
Um,
so violin and piano.
yeah, and then I dropped violin. Maybe when I was like 11, when I decided that I liked singing more. It was just too much to take all three, piano, violin, and singing.
Mhm.
So I decided to drop violin. But I did keep playing the piano up until when I was in high school in the UK. I
Mhm.
was still taking lessons there.
Mhm. And when did
Yeah.
you start singing also the music which is atonal? Because I remember you have a perfect pitch, so it's easier for you to get the pitches right all around.
Right, yeah. So I never really like did a lot of that when I was young. I think I got into that when I was at Juilliard, like
Mhm.
being an undergrad there, you don't really get, the main stage lead roles. Those are for like the older master students. So I got assigned to sing a lot of these like smaller new music concerts or like these new music projects. And
Great, but also you perform at the Focus Festival, as I remember. There was this Focus
oh yeah,
Festival.
Focus Festival.
Mm,
Yeah, I
yes.
also sang with the new Juilliard Ensemble. I did. They had this project called Opera Comp there. I
Hmm.
don't know if you were there, but it
This
was
one
like
not.
a
This one not.
yeah, yeah. It was a project where they had all these Juilliard composers collaborate with Juilliard librettists
Hmm.
or playwrights in the drama department, and they created these new operas for the singers at Juilliard. So that was really fun. So I think that was maybe in like my third or fourth. It was my first third year
Hmm.
at Juilliard that I started getting into all of this, and yeah, it was like a new thing that I found that was really fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I really liked all the freedom I got in performing new works. Because when you perform like Verdi or like bel canto stuff, there's all these like traditions and rules you kind of have to follow. Like people all sang this type of cadenza, so you can't do anything that's like out of style or like not stylistically correct, or you have all these rules you have to follow. But when you premiere a new work, or not even premiere, if you sing like a really new work that not a lot of people have performed, there's so much freedom in what you can do with the music. And yeah, I find that I found that really liberating and fun for for me.
Great, Vivian. But also,
Yeah.
do you like performing? Because my piece, you did a great job with the singing this Missa Puncta as a
Thank
soloist, and you
you.
perform at the church in Brooklyn. So do you like performing also in the churches as a concert hall?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I also love doing concert work. I haven't performed in a lot of oratorios. I guess I have. I sang the. I was a soloist in the Bach Christmas oratorio in Carnegie Hall. I
I
did
remember.
some Messiah here in Hong Kong a couple years ago. But yeah, I don't know. I love the theater aspect of opera. You know, I love the
Theaters.
drama. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, like oratorio work, it's very beautiful, and I love doing that. But it's the drama and theater that really gets me.
And acting,
Yeah, acting. I love doing that.
Yes, but there are a lot of also music, the contemporary music and the history of music that actually are not considered as written as theaters for operas, but they have this kind
Hmm.
of way of thinking. A lot of composers,
Yeah.
and I think personally, I don't know if you agree with me, but even you can find these acting elements in the music, even of the Chopin, when you have the actors and different for the
Hmm.
one instrument. So it doesn't matter sometimes if you just want one instrument or for
Yeah,
many
for sure.
instruments,
Yeah.
but you can have this aspect of acting and aspect of theater that you have because as an actor you have to have great rhetorics, knowing how to talk, yes, how to
Yeah.
engage audience, right, and
Yeah.
this kind of thing. And a lot of actual opera and theater was always very important force for composer as inspiration. But I
Yeah.
want to also go back because I'm personally also very interested in the beginning of operas, like Italian, like Mortevendi, Dramma per
Hmm.
musica, right?
Yeah.
So, have you ever performed like those old operas, like the first starting, like the first, of course, Daphne, right, or them? How they are different from the contemporary way of thinking of operas?
Right. So, I did Handel. I did a
Hmm. Opera by.
Tamerlano. Yeah, opera
Mhm.
by Handel when I was in San Francisco, and that was really cool. We did it with period instruments,
Oh
and
wow,
it
that's nice.
was
That's
really
important.
cool.
Yes.
Yeah, and but for like the really, really, really old operas, I've only done some scenes. I've done some scenes from Orfeo by
Orfeo.
Gluck.
By
Yeah,
Gluck.
I,
That's a little bit later, right?
yeah. That's a little bit later, but I don't think I've ever done Monteverdi.
Hmm.
That's cool. I would love to do it if somebody hired me for it.
Yes,
Um,
Monteverdi was great composer. Always also great inspiration for me, because of this. He invented this tremolando style. It was called concitato, thunder effects in
in the
operas.
strings,
Yeah, and a lot
or
of effects, yes, in the strings, and that was very, very new for this time. And also, he
yeah.
was the guy who invented the kind of the way of thinking about the opera. And
Mm-hmm.
Monteverdi, it was like a beginning of the tradition of opera.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
that's
love
really
very
cool.
much listening his operas actually, but also
Yeah.
I think they are also very refreshing for the contemporary world.
Uh huh.
I'm thinking also, Vivian, if you have some special recordings that you would like to share.
Yeah, so I made the video to play at my graduation. So I was doing this piece called Apparition by George Crumb.
Oh,
It's
great,
Do
George
you know that
Crumb. Of
piece?
course, one of my favorite
Super
composers
cool piece.
ever, ever. Oh, I
Yeah.
love all of his work, George Crumb.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
the poetry is so creepy. It's about death and everything. So
Hmm.
I was only working on the piece to like sing it at the recital, and I was like, this music is so imaginative, and like it just needs like an additional aspect. So I did a music video by myself. It was the first time I did anything like that. I got a secondhand GoPro, and I just filmed myself. You know, I went to the beach. I went to like
Video
yeah.
clip.
So I
Yeah.
yeah. So I wasn't like lip syncing or anything, and it was just more like images and stuff. I can definitely show you some of that.
That's great. We
Um,
would love to hear. Have you had a chance to send this to George Crumb or not?
I have not.
No. Tell me about the preparation of this piece work that you did for your graduation of George
Yeah.
Crumb, because the notation is different. I'm sure also you had a lot of new discoveries working on this piece because that's a very unique notation. And
Yeah.
how much time did you spend of working on this piece, and how was your process of learning?
So I just I don't know. I just got together with my pianist and like we
Hmm.
sight read like we figured out the notations together. Like what does this mean? Like what is this supposed? What are we supposed to do here? So we spent a lot of time working on that together, and yeah, I think it's great that we got to like explore that together instead of like working separately and just coming together in the last minute to figure it out. I think on the score it says amplified soprano and piano, so I got to sing with a microphone, which is not something that I'm trained to do. So but it was really fun, to be able to like make these sounds that normally you can't, because you have to be project normally in an opera house. But yeah, it was just cool to do that. And like I also had to think about what to put in the video, so it also gave me like other ideas to do to the music, what I did the project.
Yeah,
And I'm
so
sad that people couldn't come and see it in person because of the stupid pandemic.
yes, but we will play it. People will see and actually hear this music, this magical music. Maybe I think would be also great if you can play maybe this in later in Hong Kong. How is George Crump music in Hong Kong? Is this well known or often performed?
Well, I probably wouldn't say that he's well known here.
Hmm. Okay.
I can't say that the new music scene is very prominent here.
Hmm.
Um, there are people who really like classical music, but they're more like purists, classical music purists who, they just want to like,
Chopin. They want to hear Chopin.
yeah, they want to hear Chopin, like
Yes,
Rachmaninoff.
Rachmaninoff and
And
Mozart.
yeah, but I think there are more young people who, get educated in the US or UK, and, they become more open minded, be more open to new music and stuff like that, and they bring it back here. So
Hmm.
it's probably gonna, be more prominent here. And yeah,
Yes,
so
maybe something by George Crumb. He's well known. I'm originally from Poland, so George Crumb is very well known in my country. A lot of
oh
my
yeah,
friends wrote a lot also dissertations about his music,
oh cool,
and yes, a lot of recordings and a
yeah,
lot of yes materials. So he's very well known. It would be great if we play this piece at the end of our conversation.
sure. I
But
mean,
you
it's
can,
really long. It's like
how,
20 something minutes,
yes,
but
but,
we
but
can just play
maybe
the beginning of it.
we can play the beginning, but we can say also now a
It
text.
was a poem written for the death of Lincoln.
Mhm.
Um,
Let's talk about the first movement about this
sure.
work.
This poem is called "When Lilacs Last in Dooryard." Sorry, "When Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloomed," and it's a poem by Walt Whitman. So it was written for the death of Lincoln. And should I read the text for the
Mhm.
first?
Mhm.
Sure. Okay.
For the first, if for the first movement, if you can just, we can know what this text about.
Okay. The night in silence under many a star, the ocean shore and the husky whispering wave, whose voice I know, and the soul turning to thee, O vast and well veiled death, and the body gratefully nesting close to thee. So it talks about death, but it's not. It's sort of like embracing death.
Hmm. Hmm.
It talks about the body gratefully
It's about the night.
nesting
Okay,
close to yeah, it's
you have
about the
night now
night.
actually in Hong Kong, so it works.
Yeah,
I see there is night. It's a morning here in New York, but you have a night. So that's great, Vivian. I think we'll play this first movement as the end of our conversation. What I can say, of course, thank you very much for being with us, for talking, sharing your life memories of your recent
yeah, of
time
course. Thank you
of
for
your
having me.
it's thank you very much, and I wish you of course a lot of success also in Hong Kong, and also I hope that the pandemic soon will allow you to go for your auditions in Europe or
Thank
maybe
you.
the
Same to
States
you. I
coming.
hope everything gets
All
back
the
to normal
best
over
and
there
have a
soon.
great year, because we just got the 2021, but also the happy Chinese New
Chinese
Year.
New Year, yeah.
Yes, so and be healthy, and very creative.
Yeah, you
Continue also
too.
your journey with the modern music and modern operas.
Yeah.
And so all the best, Vivian, and thank you very much for this
Thank
again
you.
for this talk. So now we
Yeah.
will listen George Crump, first movement of the apparition. Okay,
Yeah.
by performed by Vivian,
Yeah.
their recital in
Mm-hmm.
March in the San Francisco Conservatory of Music.
Yeah.
So bye bye, Vivian. Thank you very much.
Thank you.